Well. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special Monday night edition of Speaking of Zane. I just was not ready last night. We were home in time, but was not. I just didn't have my poop in a group, and I'd been on the road for 8 or 9 hours, and figure we'd wait until Monday night. We've done it on Monday night before, so no surprises there. But good to have everybody along for the ride today. We've got people out and about in different places than they usually are. let me run down the list here. Ken, pipe in there, but Ken is up in Omaha, I believe. Now, Ken lives in Central Florida, retired Air Force, does a little consulting these days, and Ken is up in Omaha, Nebraska, and it sounds like Ken may have stumbled across S2 for some dinner up there. And let's see who else. Well, I know for a fact, and I'm going to get to this part of the story here in a minute, but Barb Pope is not in her normal Nebraska. Amy Walton is not in her normal Nebraska. And Carrie Watkins is not in her normal Springfield, Missouri. Those three ladies are in Florida in the path of the hurricane. More about that in a minute. Maybe Barb and Amy can put in the chat what their status is and what the forecast is looking like for Punta Gorda, Florida. Let's see. Aaron says he's in a different location. He's sitting on the other couch this visit. Okay. Yep. Ken, I hope you left good instructions for your wife there on what to do in the path of the storm. I know you got a lot of good neighbors there, so I'm sure she'll be okay. Well inland. Janet, that is. Okay. Let's see who else we've got on board. Lori's in there. Daryl's in there. Steve and Ken are in there. My dad is in there. Mac Marine down in South Georgia. Matt Aaron, Carl and Peggy, and Katie Aaron is in there, wife of Matt Aaron. Katie, I'm glad to see Matt got his pickup truck back. There is nothing in this world more important than a man's pickup truck. That's for sure. Amy just wants to dance in the rain here. Boy, we just had a deluge here. We'd been under severe thunderstorm warning, and the warning came true, and we just got a deluge here in northwest Atlanta metro. Came through some rain on the way home yesterday too, at about central Georgia. But Amy, Barb, Carrie, as warm as it is up here in Georgia, we felt instant relief when we stopped at the Buc-ee's in just south of Macon, Georgia, and we stepped out and we were like, oh, this is refreshing. That southwest Florida heat was incredible, for sure. All right, well, let's see. Well, we did make a trip down. Let me back up a little bit. For those that weren't on last week, I announced last week, and it was a late announcement. It was a happy birthday. Speaking of Zane, it was our 5th anniversary of Speaking of Zane on August the 5th, and I neglected to call it out until last week. So for those that missed us last week, we passed the 5-year mark that this old man has gotten on Facebook and YouTube to ramble on about Zane and other matters. And boy, I tell you what, 5 years has gone fast for sure. But so happy birthday to Speaking of Zane. Hopefully many more years to come. But I had a good week last week. Spent a good bit of it, most of it, up in St. Louis at where I spend a lot of time. Lori can tell you. And fortunately, it's only about an hour flight. And there's probably 10 flights a day from Atlanta to St. Louis. So it's very easy to get back and forth. It actually takes longer to get to the airport and through the airport and everything than it does to fly there. But anyway, I spent a few days there, and for some normal work activities. I'm not retired like a good bit of you on on the call here, but I will be one day. So I was in St. Louis, but the reason I bring it up is I got a lot of veteran related activities done while I was in town, coordination for an upcoming 9/11 conversation that I'm facilitating. We had a card writing activity that we did. People from all over the company got together over lunch and we wrote cards to patients in the local VA hospital. How about that? Got a group of people from work together to do that. That's incredible. And had a good time with that. I got to meet some new veterans at our company. And I got to interact with some old veterans that I know that happen to be in town from Tampa and other places. So it was a real productive trip on the veterans front for sure. And then as soon as I got home on Thursday night, actually the plane was late. I got in late, and Lori and I got up Friday morning and drove. Lori, I don't know why we drove. Punta Gorda is 2 hours. Well, it's 100 miles south of the old My Warrior's place. I guess I just didn't register with me that it was that far. I thought it was about 50 miles, but it's about 100 miles. So that adds a couple hour drive. But anyway, we did drive and it was okay. We're used to that drive. We drive to Tampa, but you get to Tampa, you still got another 100 miles. But it was well worth the drive. And we went down there, as you guys remember, for the My Warrior's Place honoring the 13 ceremony. Kelly and My Warrior's Place orchestrated a memorial or a remembrance ceremony for the 13 service members, 11 Marines, one sailor, and one soldier that were killed in that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan 2 years ago on Saturday, which was the 26th. So Kelly did a fantastic job, of course, as she always does. And what a great turnout it was, a fantastic ceremony. Lori and I got there Friday early evening, and we were able to meet Kelly at the hotel. And Kelly introduced us to one of the family of one of the Marines, Lance Corporal David Lee Espinoza. And I had no idea that they were already there or that they were in the lobby. They were eating dinner, and we arrived. And Kelly said, "Let me introduce you to the Espinosas." And we were like, "What?" So we had a chance to meet them. They were very gracious, the Espinosas. And father's called Victor, mother's called Elizabeth. I think she goes by Liz. And Lance Corporal Espinoza's little sister, who just had a birthday yesterday, is 15, and her name is Delilah. And she was delightful. She was a very engaging young lady, and just an honor to meet the family of a fallen service member. Humbling is what it is. Humbling, very humbling. But we got a chance to spend a few minutes with them, and they had what's the guy's name? Kelly, Mitch, and his wife were sort of chaperoning the family and making sure that they got checked in and got some dinner and got to the venue and all those things. And so we got a chance to meet them on the Friday evening, and then Lori and I got settled in and everything. And then the next morning got up Mitch and Shannon. That's right. Thank you. So Lori and I got up the next morning, Saturday, and the event was at the new My Warrior's Place. Now, because we talked to a lot of our friends and stuff, and I know Kelly mentioned this last week or the week before, but the old My Warrior's Place location is still in operation. So you feel free, you can still point people to the old My Warrior's Place. And still in operation. And so you can share that with people and send them to the website and not feel like the old location is not in operation, because it absolutely is, and still serving veteran community. But anyway, so we get up on Saturday. The activity, the ceremony is between 10 and noon on Saturday, and so Lori and I drive out there. Now, I had not been there. I think Lori was with Kelly last year sometime when Lori was down there, and Lori went with Kelly to take a look at the place before before My Warriors Place bought the property. Lori went down there. They went on a scouting mission and stuff. So Lori had seen the property. Um, and this was my first time seeing the location. Now, this was Lori's first time seeing what has been done in that very relatively short period of time. I was blown away, Kelly, by oh, okay, Lori, thank you, David Lindsay. Yeah, okay. But I was blown away by how much had been done out there, and um, how it can be, the things that have been done out there make it usable in the moment, even though it doesn't have the facilities that the original My Warriors Place does. It can be used. There's lots of places for activity and different things. I was amazed, Kelly, at what all had been done in a relatively short period of time. It's amazing. I'm not surprised with you, but nonetheless, it was awesome. And Kelly was so excited to show for people to see it for the first time, and I don't blame her one bit. Now, side note here, there is an official grand opening for My Warriors Place on Sunday, November 7th. Kelly, help me. Lori? Sunday, I know it's a Sunday. Sunday, I think it's November 7th. So it's I have it here somewhere. It's 12th. It's the day after Veterans Day. 12th. Thank you. 7th is something else I'm doing on for Veterans Day. The 7th is something else. So the 12th, yes. So I think the 7th I'll be in New York, actually, for a veterans thing. But yes, the 12th, Saturday the 12th. So it's likely Lori and I will come down for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, something like that. But I am excited about the grand opening. There's all kind of activities. I've posted the flyer as it exists on the Speaking of Zane Facebook page, so you can go look for it there. I'll post it again periodically, so you can see there's going to be a band, there's going to be a car show, there's going to be all kind of stuff there to celebrate the grand opening of this place and what it's going to do to serve the veteran community. So anyway, so that was a little sidebar there. So this event, Kelly, I was so surprised that so many people were in attendance. I don't know the count, but it was a good number of people that were in attendance out in the middle of a swamp on a Saturday morning. Blown away, and very well attended. Kelly has aligned with an organization called Solid 7. So in our organization segment, that's another organization I'm going to add to the list. You can go search them, Solid 7. You can hear the story, why it's called Solid 7. But the husband and wife, Gold Star mother and father themselves, were part of the ceremony, opening intro. And it's fascinating how service organizations, like-minded service organizations, can get together and become a force multiplier for each other. And that's kind of what it feels like with Solid 7 and My Warriors Place. And they were there, got a chance to see and hear from them. So that was very good. Yes, that's right, Kelly, they are. In fact, that reminds me that Lori and I get a very nice new My Warriors Place challenge coin, which has My Warriors Place, My Service Dogs Place, and Solid 7 on the challenge coin. So Kelly, thanks for that clarification. Anyway, so we got to hear from them, and then the keynote speaker um, was actually a Marine Corps Major General, retired, James Hartzell, um, nickname, code name Hammer. They call him Hammer. But he just gave a fantastic keynote there about service. And I think he himself served. He's combat vet, of course, served 35 plus years. And that was fantastic to hear from him. And of course, we heard from Victor and Liz talking about their son and the other 12. And just fantastic. Barbecue catering by Mission Barbecue. Has anybody heard of Mission Barbecue? They're a military themed chain that are located in various parts of the country, but they catered some nice barbecue, and the staff was fantastic, and so that was awesome. There were a lot of local veterans organizations. The Combat Veterans Military Association, or Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association, a couple of local American Legions and VFWs. And oh, that reminds me. Well, I'll have to remember to tell this part of the story. Hang on, I'm going to make myself a note. I told you guys I have so much to talk about here. I may not get to all the normal stuff. Let's see. Let me make a note here so I don't forget to tell you. It's related to something else I'm going to tell you, so I'll just have to make a quick note about it here. Speaking of American Legion. There we go. Okay. That kind of goes with something else as well. So I mentioned the turnout. I mentioned the organizations. Gold Star Mothers organization was there. I'll tell you what, Kelly, tell me why you think this is, or have you heard the story behind it? But that Charlotte County, Florida, the Punta Gorda area, they love the military, and there's not an active duty. There's not a base there. The closest base, I believe, is up in Tampa, but those folks have it going on down there. I'll tell you what, maybe it's a lot of retired military there. I don't know, but got a really good vibe from the whole area. Lori and I were talking about that on the way back. But anyway, so it was just a fantastic activity. Now, there was another part of the activity that came afterwards, and we had to wedge in this opportunity. Now, Lori's been planning this for coming up on a couple of years, Lori, planning it, working on it, and then eventually getting this thing I'm going to tell you about. But Lori has been chomping at the bit, and it's never worked out for us to do this, and we wanted to do it face to face. But we have and you can see the video on Speaking of Zane, but on the Speaking of Zane Facebook page. But Lori had a plaque, very nice plaque, crafted for Kelly, honoring her son Corey, and it was put together by the Till Valhalla Project. And we've talked about them before. They do fantastic work in honoring the fallen, and they make these plaques and wristbands like you see many wearing. They make these. All you have to do is send them the pertinent information and everything. Of course, they verify everything. Obviously, we want these things to be vetted to a high standard, and they do that. Anyway, they crafted this just fantastic plaque that has the high resolution picture of Corey, the one you all have seen, and his red or maroon paratrooper beret. Just an awesome plaque. Well, Lori got the opportunity finally to get Kelly in one place, sitting down, sitting still for a minute, and presented her with that plaque, and it was fantastic. And it did get Kelly crying. Now, Kelly, Kelly, it's been Kelly help me here, but Corey died in 2009, right? So it's been, what is that? 2009, 20 is 11, 22, 12, 13 years we're on, 14 years almost. But to see the way that it touched her all these years later when she saw the image of her son and the tribute, was awesome. It was just awesome. I'm so glad. I was just happy for Lori to finally be able to give that to Kelly. I know Kelly has lots of mementos and lots of plaques and tributes and stuff like that, but hopefully this one, this one's a little bit special, coming from her good friends here, speaking of Zane. And Lori was so excited to finally give that to Kelly. So you can see that video on speaking of Zane. Now, so there's a companion story to that. Some of you saw this already if you follow me on Facebook. It has been probably, I don't know ever, certainly decades, and I don't know ever if I have been surprised the way that I was surprised on Saturday morning about 9:45 a.m. We drive out to this location. It's maybe 15, 20 minutes from the hotel. Go out, Oil Well Road, I think it is. The only reason this road's paved is because there's a prison at the end of it. But you get a couple of miles down this road and you have to take a left on a dirt road, a washboard dirt road. But I'm going to tell you what, Kelly, the more I thought about it, I love that long dirt road because it's part of the experience. You get on that long dirt road and you're going through puddles and dips and all of this stuff. And then you get to the end of it. And I'm imagining in the future, Kelly, as a Gold Star family or an at-risk veteran comes to convalesce at the new My Warriors place. Can you imagine the anticipation coming down this dirt road in the middle of a Southwest Florida swamp and then getting to the end of it and an oasis, My Warriors place in all its glory? That's kind of what I see in my head. And I'm thinking, I don't know that I would change a thing about that last mile into My Warriors place. Now, maybe the road's going to be improved and graveled or whatever, but it's really kind of cool that you get there and then all of a sudden you're in this safe space, you're in this oasis, you're in this healing place. I don't know. It's part of to me, that's going to be part of the experience, is that long drive down that unimproved road. But anyway, so we get there, Lori and I, and we were in a line of cars, Kelly, where you guys were directing traffic. We were 15 cars deep, I guess, by the time we got on the road. And then there was another 15 maybe behind us. And so we get down there and we find our place to park, and we park. And Lori walked ahead of me a little ways, and I got the truck parked, made sure I left room for space beside me for someone else. And anyway, got all situated, and then we walked. That's where we parked and had to walk maybe an eighth of a mile back into the complex there. And back to the surprise. There's a defined entry into the My Warriors place. And as I breached that threshold, out from behind a freaking pine tree or palm tree or shrub is Amy Walton in my face. Surprise. And I have never, ever, ever been that shocked and surprised in my life. I'm sure of it. And you know how sometimes you see something or someone where they're not supposed to be, or in a place you don't normally see them, or out of context? That was absolutely in my mind. I was like, what's happening right now? Amy is in Nebraska. Am I having a freaking mental breakdown here? But there she was in her scrawniness, thin young lady, right in front of me. And I could not deny that that was her. And wow, blown away. And not only was it her, she had her sister, Barb, who I love, and Carrie, who flew with Amy and I at Milden Hall. And they had Sam with them as well. And it was Sam Morgan. And it was great to meet him. He remembered me. I didn't remember him. He was a battle staff puke. I mean, he was in the battle staff. But wow. Uh, Lori says, losing my mind. Yeah, I think a mixture of the two. Now, here's the kicker. Kelly kept the secret. Kelly knew. Kelly knew. And Kelly and I talked several times in the interim, and she never let on. She kept a really good secret. And as it turns out, Amy, Barb, Carrie, I don't know when Sam got there, but Amy, Barb, Carrie had to fly down. Barb and Amy from Omaha, and and Carrie Carrie lives in Springfield, but she flew out of Kansas City. So they all flew down. They're all retired Air Force. Actually, Barbara's retired Army. But they all flew down there, and they got there early, and they got in touch with Kelly, and they said, Kelly, can we come out and help? They were there a couple of days before the event, helping Kelly get things cleared and in place, and just incredible, 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 incredible. And I tell people all the time, and this is another validation to the fact that when you serve together, you create a special bond that years and years, and in this case decades later, can still exist. And I am so thankful for them four with Sam. For think about what they did. Okay, decide to go to Florida to surprise Guy and Lori and see my Warriors place, which they've heard so much about over and over again, and come down here and surprise us. Not only that, but actually work their butts off. Are you surprised? And none of us are spring chickens anymore, but they got out there and worked. And then to come out there on Saturday was just fantastic. And I know that they were thrilled. I could tell they were so humbled, like I was, to be in the presence of these Gold Star families and honoring those 13. And the other connection for Amy and Barb, of course, is that one of the 13 fallen is buried at Omaha National Cemetery, Corporal Dagan Page. And Dagan is buried in the same cemetery now that Amy's husband, Roy, is buried. So there's all of these intricate ties, and it's just, you couldn't orchestrate this yourself. It just the way life plays out. And anyway, it was just, ladies and Sam, so fantastic of you guys to do that. I know you're all retired, but you still have other commitments and everything. But I mean, take it from me and Lori, and I know Kelly feels the same way. But personally, I just feel so blessed that you guys would do that, and just amazing. I'm tearing up thinking about it, but it was so great to spend the time that we were together at my Warriors place with them, and I was in such shock. Well, when Lori and I were able to finally corral Kelly for a few minutes, have I mentioned she's a busy woman? Kelly, we were talking about you at dinner on Saturday night, and about just this undertaking that you have that would just swamp and envelop most people, but somehow you do it. But we got Kelly, and while we had her for the plaque and everything, Carrie, who is involved in her American Legion in Springfield, Missouri, presented Kelly with 3 checks from the organizations of that American Legion. I don't know what it was, $1,500 or something like that. But for Carrie to work with her American Legion organization in Missouri, for God's sakes, the Show Me State, and they showed up to come down and do that with some of their funds is impressive. They certainly have their own things they could be doing, but to recognize My Warrior's Place and for Carrie to represent to the body, the American Legion body there, why this is a good idea for them to do and invest. And so Carrie, hats off to you for that. And I think Barb did a similar thing with her unit as well. So you ladies are absolutely fantastic. And so after that, after everything wrapped up there at My Warrior's Place, we still had a good bit of the day left. So Lori and I went back to the hotel, and I walked over to about a mile away. I walked over to what's called the American Heritage Museum there in Punta Gorda. I think Ken has been there before. I'm not sure if Kelly's been there yet or not, but it's worth, I think it's $12 maybe for veterans. But they have pulled together a really nice museum there. And I spent a couple hours there. And of course, I'm kind of a military nerd, as you guys know. So it's really cool. One thing I found, I'm going to post some pictures. I didn't post any of my pictures from there, but I'm going to when I catch my breath here a little bit. But I didn't even get a chance to tell Lori this yet, but they had a lot of uniforms there from all the different periods of service. And they had a modern Army Class A uniform, the dark green, like Zane wore. They've had 2 iterations since then. They went to the black and blue, and now they're on to the pink and greens, pink and whatever they call them, the sort of World War II throwback. But so they had one like the uniform that Zane wore, and believe it or not, it was a 3rd ID. And not only was 3rd ID, it was 369. It was Zane's unit, 369. And I have pictures of it. I'll post it. And Matt Aaron, I figured you'd want to see it for sure. So sometime maybe tonight or tomorrow, I'll get a chance to post my museum pictures. But I thought that was just fascinating to have a uniform in there. From a soldier from Zane's unit, 369 of the 3rd ID. So that was kind of cool. Took some pictures of it. There's my Aunt Cindy. Hey, Aunt Cindy, welcome. Ken, I did not do the flight simulator, although there was only a couple of other vets in there. I could have got on the list and done it, but I did peek into the room there, and I saw the elaborate setups that they have there, and have the VR. In the room next door, they have VR stuff you can do as well. So you can, an individual, if so inclined, could spend even more time there than I did. And I'm a nerd, but it was good. It was a really good museum if you ever get to Punta Gorda. And then I mentioned on our way out Sunday morning, on our way out back to get to the interstate, we had to pass right by it's called the Vietnam Wall Memorial of Southwest Florida. That's the official name of it. And it's in a very nice veterans park. I think Kelly has seen it before. Very well manicured, a nice pond, and flags, of course, and a 1/2 scale replica of the Vietnam Wall in that famous V. And anyway, I got some pics of that, but it's worth a visit as well. But yeah, good stuff. So we were doing things right out as we were going out of town. We were still doing stuff, but it was fantastic. Oh, and I mentioned, Lori put this in the chat, but we were going to go out to dinner Saturday night. So I did the thing Saturday. back to the hotel. We had talked about Amy, Barb, and Carrie coming back downtown and meet with us for dinner. And then we got to thinking, or Lori said something about the pool at the hotel. And Amy said, well, we have a pool at our Airbnb. Just why don't you come to our house? We'll barbecue and you can do the pool there. That's what we did. So Amy and Barb and Carrie, out of town visitors, hosted us at their Airbnb, and it was fantastic. Now I did do the grill work. They got all the food prepped, and I ran the grill. I was the grill sergeant. But wow, it was fantastic. We had ribeyes and stuffed chicken breasts and asparagus and mushrooms and onions and veggies and maybe an adult beverage or two. But wow, to hang out for Lori and I to hang out with them, for a few hours was fantastic. Lori did get in the pool. The evenings are very nice, not oppressively hot like the day, but man, we reminisced, we told lies, we told stories, we provided therapy for one another. It was fantastic. I didn't want to leave, but we ended up leaving, didn't we, Lori, about midnight, I guess. And Lori drove us back the 15 or so minutes to the hotel. But ladies, it was just, you guys, I knew it was going to be a great weekend already because of the purpose. And anytime I can go to my warrior's place, anytime I can spend time with Kelly, all of that is fantastic. But add on top of that, you guys showing up out of the blue, making me piss my pants out of surprise was incredible. So thank you. Okay, Lori, what am I missing about that experience? Fascinating. And we made it home safely and back to work this morning and trying to spend a week at home before Lori and I are heading to London next week. So I'm home all this week and got to get caught up on some things. Lori's got to get herself positioned to be gone for a couple of weeks. And then I'm leaving on Tuesday night. I need to send Lori my flight information because my company obviously is flying me over, and I'm flying on Delta. And you fly, usually you guys know when you go west to east, you fly overnight. So you arrive in London in the morning of the next day. So I'm leaving here Tuesday evening, arriving in London on Wednesday morning, the 6th. So I'm set. Now, Lori is the unpredictable wild card because the way she's coming over is through the goodness of our daughter Charlotte's heart, because she has us on her family plan for United Airlines. So Lori will be joining me over there. So we're going to try to make the timing align best we can. Charlotte's going to help us with that. But anyway, so Lori will get there either slightly ahead of me when I do or slightly behind me. And we will spend about 17 nights there, coming home on the 23rd or so. So that's going to be the plan. So I'll be there over 2 weekends. So there'll be 2 Speaking of Zane cycles while we're there. So I'll have to figure out the timing and the difference in time and things like that. So if we're not able to do a Speaking of Zane, I'll certainly keep things up to date on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group and whatnot. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to report. We're hoping one of those weekends, maybe we can run up to Mildenhall, to Cambridge, to the American Military Cemetery, or to the Air Museum. We'll see how things play out. So we may have some other things to report there. I'm going to be kind of busy kicking off a new program there. So I'm going to be working every day, probably 10 hours a day, but we'll have some time on the weekend. So that's the plan at the moment. While I'm over there also, I mentioned this before, but 9/11 is coming up, and at my work, we're going to do a discussion, kind of a roundtable discussion, and I've assembled 4 people at the company, 4 employees of our company. 3 of them are veterans that have a firsthand account of 9/11. They were either in New York or that were at the Pentagon. So I'm going to facilitate a discussion so that we can share with the rest of our company about 9/11. There's people in the workforce these days that weren't born yet, so that's just our way to try to make sure that it's that the importance and the impact of 9/11 is not forgotten. People that weren't born at the time or were babies at the time, they don't have a recollection like we do. So anyway, my point is, we're gonna do that. I think on September 7th. It's a Thursday, so I'll be doing it from the London office. But it's an open sort of discussion that anybody can join, just like the Memorial Day when I did. So now that the link for it is ready, I will share that in the Speaking of Zane Facebook group. And if any of you guys are available to join that and listen in, you're more than welcome to. Oh, Kelly, that'll be great. So Kelly has written a new book. Now, if you have not read Kelly's book about her son, about how her son, I guess the overarching theme, I mean, it's not a biography of Corey, but it's more of an account of how Corey came to Kelly very strongly, which resulted in this path that has led to My Warrior's Place and story of My Warrior's Place. So if you haven't read Kelly's first book, you can still read Kelly's first book. But Kelly has written a second book about, it's called My Service Dog's Place. Help me out in the chat, Lori or Kelly. But it's a I want to say ministry. It's not a ministry. It's a component of My Warrior's Place, My Service Dog's Place. And I haven't read the book or even seen a draft of it, but if I can get a copy, I'll get a copy before we go. I will read it on the plane. But My Warrior's Place is an element of, or My Service Dog's Place is an element of My Warrior's Place, and there's a whole story behind how that developed, has become a part of that. But anyway, so be sure you read Kelly's book and be sure you read My Service Dog's Place. Is it available yet? I saw something on the My Warrior's Place Facebook group that talked about when it would be generally available, but I'll if I find that, I'll put it on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group so everybody knows when it's available. Okay, awesome. That's exciting. Kelly, how in the world do you have time to write a book? By the way, Lori's writing a book. So Lori, and I read the prelude. I don't know if she's calling it the prelude, but it kind of tees up this account of Zane. And I'm impressed. About what Lori has done so far. That's going to take a while to capture and chronicle 26 years of a young man's life. But I think she's off to a good start. So we'll see when, as time goes, how that develops. But I think she's doing a great job. Okay, yeah, Lori mentioned this in the chat too. So there's a couple of upcoming calendar items related to Speaking of Zane. Next August, I believe, Lori is planning a reunion of sorts of Zane's battle buddies, and specifically those that made the pilgrimage to his funeral. The core group who we're still very close to, and probably overdue for us to try to orchestrate something like this. Not that there's any perfect time or anything like that, but I like the idea of everybody gathering in a central place and sharing stories and talking about Zane. And it looks like we're going to do that next late summer. So stay tuned for more about that. Lori will be talking about when and where and all of those things coming up. I believe Tennessee mountains, maybe somewhere in there. Okay, so stay tuned for that. And then the next speaking of Zane related calendar event will come, and I've mentioned this last week, will come in the summer of 2026. So, Matt, I don't know if you and Katie heard this or not, but your friend, Aaron Bartle, who you introduced us to, who coordinates the Running to Honor 5K up in Michigan, and because of COVID, broadened it to other places, and we've been participating for 3 or 4 years now. He reached out to me and asked if it would be okay to dedicate the 2026 Running to Honor 5K to Specialist Zane Coleman McDonald. What? So that'll be fantastic. So we got 2 more races between then. So 2 more races between then, and then in 2026 it'll be all about Zane, or primarily about Zane. And wow, I couldn't be more honored about that. And of course, Lori and I will go to Michigan for that and be involved in whatever capacity Aaron would like us to be. And as you know, Aaron's a regular listener here. He's often lurking in the shadows, and we've had him as a guest, and he does fantastic work like Kelly does. But proud to know both of them. Okay, let's see. Wow, that was a lot. I told you I had a lot to talk about. Weight loss is steady. So I went to St. Louis. That's always dangerous when you get out of your routine and go out of town and you have to eat, with your colleagues and coworkers. And then I went to my Warriors place. Although Amy and Carrie and Barb did a great job of assembling our dinner, because it was red meat, asparagus, peppers, onions, and mushrooms. That's stuff I eat every day. So it was perfect. But anyway, when you get out of your routine and out of your element, it's risky. But I'm steady at 87 pounds. And what I'm more impressed about, and it just came to light because I had Lori order me some new blue jeans. My waist size is down from 46 to 36. 36. I haven't been 36 since I was in the Air Force, for God's sakes. Anyway, all right, that's the weight loss update. Hat of the week always has something to do with what the heck is going on here at the fabulous McDonald Estate and Insane Asylum, or at work, or in our lives, or adjacent to whatever the heck we're doing. And because of my good friends, Amy, Carrie, Sam, fellow Looking Glass crew members, I decided to pull out the old Looking Glass hat. You see, it's really dusty. I've got another one that's pristine. This is the one I used to wear. It's really dusty and dirty. Could use a cleaning, but that is the hat of the week in honor of Amy, Carrie, Sam. Thank you guys. Love you all so much. Proud to have served with you on those long missions, for sure. Okay, that is it. I'm not even going to have time to go through the Veteran Cemetery Challenge or the Thank a Vet Challenge. However, I am chronicling those, and we'll catch up on them next week. We will definitely catch up on them next week. If you guys, most of you guys, when you visit a cemetery or when you say thanks to a veteran or have an interaction, y'all do such a great job of letting me know. You post on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group, and that's where I pulled that to compile our stats. But just to give you an idea of where we're at for those that may not attend regularly, since we started doing the Veteran Cemetery Challenge, we have made over 874 visits, this relatively small group of patriots, to 176 distinct locations. That's pretty fabulous in my book. And Ken's piping in the chat there. He's going to get us a couple more, another visit. I think he's going to go to Omaha National later this week, and he has a few targeted individuals that he's going to pay his respects to. And if you, like Ken says in the chat there, if you know someone at Omaha National, let Ken know, and he'll stop by and visit them as well. It's a relatively new cemetery. Amy helped me, less than 5 years, I think. Jimbo Miller might know, but sub 5 years. But I know 3 people there, unfortunately. So we've made 874 visits to 176 different locations. We'll update that next week, and then on our Thank a Vet challenge. And really, it's interacting with the vet challenge. When you interact with a vet, or tell a vet thank you, or appreciate you, or a first responder of any kind as well. We've been doing that for quite some time. You guys do a great job of that, and I'll get the list caught up next week. But we're in the neighborhood of 2,250. Ken has issued a challenge, as he's known to do, that we get to, what was it, Ken? Have Ken put the challenge back in the chat there, because I forgot. 2,500, I think. 2,500. If we can get to 2,500 thank yous by the end of the year, so we've got September, October, November, December. We got 4 months. 4 months. If we get to 2,500 veteran interactions, veteran thank yous, then he's going to make a generous donation to My Warrior's Place. And several people have stepped up and said, I'll match it, Ken, including Guy and Lori. So some more coming your way, Kelly, at the end of the year for that. All right. Kelly, speaking of that, okay. Speaking of veterans, and speaking of My Warrior's Place and your mission, whether I like it or not, I've got people, Kelly, and I think it's because of my loud mouth, but I have people reaching out to me either for their own self or on behalf of someone else, asking for advice, help, assistance, not counseling necessarily, but help, assistance, guidance about a variety of matters. The one most recent at the company I work for, some of our leadership at the company reached out to me, the face of our veterans group and the guy with the loudest mouth, and shared with me a situation about an at-risk Marine. And, you know, I was able to, with some help, coordinate a strategy and an approach. And Kelly, I learned about a new organization that I'll share with you in Missouri that's very much like My Warrior's Place, that we're steering this young man to. But anyway, Lori heard me on the phone on the way down to Florida, talking about this and trying to coordinate some of these activities. And Kelly, I got off the phone and I just felt that I felt totally inequipped to be somebody people are coming to for these kind of matters. And I told Lori, I said, I need some professional training, or I need something where I can feel comfortable and confident in to be able to provide the advice and consultation to these variety of people that are coming to me. Anyway, so think about that. If anybody has any ideas about that, let me know about that. I just feel like I need some I can only wing it for so long. Um, but yeah, I could use a little bit of guidance in that capacity, because the louder your mouth is, the more people will come to you um, about things like that. So, anyway, okay, well, let's see. We have rambled a bunch, an hour. We usually don't go an hour, but I want to a quick little shout out. My buddy Roy Cupper's in there. Thank you, Roy. I tell you, Roy, I can look at everybody that joined Speaking of Zane, and I know I have a story about him in my head. I have, you know, and the thing, Roy and I served together. I have a lot of memories of Roy, different things while we were together. But the thing when I hear Roy's name, see Roy's name, the first thing I think of is Patriot Guard Riders, because he was instrumental in saying, "Hey, guy, have you thought about Patriot Guard Riders for Zane?" And it turned out to be one of the best things we did. And Lori will agree. Um, the way that they cared and represented. And so, Roy, I'll forever be thankful for you doing that. And because of what you did, I've helped others do that for their loved ones. So thank you for that. Okay. Let's see. I think that's it, gang. I hope everybody has a good rest of your week. We would definitely have, Speaking of Zane, next Sunday night. And then we're going to kind of play it by ear on the following two or three, and see where we go from there. But thank you all so much for joining every Sunday night or Monday night when we do this. I'll tell you, this, I joke about it, but it's absolutely true that having a group like this and having a forum like this is therapeutic. I don't know if anybody can relate, but just for me, collecting, prepping, collecting content, delivering, this is so therapeutic for me. And maybe that's why I've done it for 5 years now. But you all play a part in that. And I cannot thank you enough for coming alongside Lori and I, being part of this. I think we're just getting started. I think we got a lot that we can do going forward to keep Zane's memory alive and to keep other young men and women alive with the lessons we've learned and the connections we have and the things that we can orchestrate and whatever. And when I finally do retire, like the rest of my colleagues on here, look out, because we'll go balls to the wall on this thing and see where it takes us. But okay, team, Amy, Barb, Carrie, Sam, God bless you guys. Never been more surprised in my life. I cannot thank you enough for that. It was better than Christmas and everything all rolled up in one. And just that you guys would do that is so telling about your character. And I appreciate you so much. There's my Aunt Cindy. Hey, Aunt Cindy over in Alabama. Thank you for joining. But I got to get out of here because you guys are wondering why this guy has gone 1 hour and 3 minutes. And I will look forward to seeing you all along the way. Keep your eyes open on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group. I'm going to post a bunch of pictures of the museum and other stuff. And then we'll talk to you guys again next Sunday night. Take care, everybody.